Hey guys, welcome to today's stream. Tail has got the strongest waiting game in the game. How we doing? Welcome. I'm I'm a little bit slow today. Well, this week I think I was 5 minutes late last session, 5 minutes late this session. I think Tal needs to replace me. How we all doing? Tal, hi handsome. Hope you're all good, my friend. Oh no, you actually said Mr. Handsome. I want you to. Okay, so the guys in the Discord. If you're not in the Darwinex Discord, make sure you join. We have a barrel of laughs in there. There's some serious stuff goes on in there as well. It's kind of like your first line of support, if you will. There's a load of great traders in here, all talking and sharing ideas. However, we do have the occasional bit of fun in here, and Tal thought it'd be funny to turn me into a meme. So we have St. Kieran by XAQP, which FYI is not financial advice. I did not create this image. We've got some Tails underwear in the background, apparently. We then went on to print it on some underwear from Typhoon. And with the model wearing me as well. So it's it's been a fun day in the Discord. It's not advice. If there's any regulators watching this, it is not financial advice. Okay, markets UJ has been rolling over all day. I don't know how much it's not all day. I was in like 5 longs this morning, I think. Where are we? Dollar yen. You see, it was just peppering longs all the way up. Came into this morning, as I always do with everything. There's always manual oversight into all of my trades. I decided to exit them this morning. Pretty good in hindsight. However, we never know what's going to happen when I do that. I'm now in euro yen longs, dollar yen longs again, and Nasdaq longs. So we'll see how that all plays out. Been relatively fat on the day, up a tiny amount, and up slightly in open positions as well. But I just felt like, when you get a feeling for a market, and I think generally what I found recently, is that because I have less of a directional bias on the market, I don't really care because I have my portfolio taking all my trades. I tend to react better because I don't have that preconceived idea of, okay, I want the market to do this. For example, when I was a discretionary trader, of course, you have kind of an idea of where you would like price to go, in terms of, I'd like to see it trade all the way up here. Now, inadvertently, you're already putting this kind of goal or idea in your mind. So when you start to see these pullbacks, you're still so fixated on that. It's a little bit harder to respond, in my opinion, whereas these days I find it super, super easy. But anyway, could have continued rallying. I'm just rambling, is what it is. Bitcoin still down on the day. I was talking about yesterday's session. We're saying it's pretty much at the mid-range of this area here. It looks like it's more going to break down and continue to the lower end of that range on the daily. But again, so unbothered about where that goes. It is what it is. I'd like to be a buyer down at 74, if not down at 32. Will it get there? Highly unlikely. We'll see. Stocks again, Rocket Lab continuing to show a weaker hand over the past week or so, whilst other stocks seem to be maintaining relatively strong up there. Nasdaq, when Tribe coming soon. Tribe coming soon. My focus has been on a lot of other different things. I could do with getting a Tribe set up. Oh. Okay, sorry, just reading an important message about regulation. So that's why my eyes were moving to the screen. Anyway, guys, in today's session, we're going to be going through some Darwin analysis. So if you're here and you want your Darwin analyzed, I'm more than happy to do that. If not, we can play it by ear. We can have a chat. We can, talk markets. We can talk strategies, and just do whatever you guys want to do. However, I know there was somebody in yesterday's session who wanted me to take a look at their Darwin. So if you're here today, please let me know and whack your Darwin in the comments. Hey Kieran, I built some systems using FX Dreamer, and for some reason on Darwinex they can't seem to get the 1% risk right when trading US30. Have you encountered this at all? In terms of what do you mean by get the 1% risk right when trading US30? Are we talking about are you using a risk of balance on FX Dreamer? Is that what you're doing? I presume so, but it's probably a way that the settings are set up within the file. I don't mind loading Dreamer. Take a look. This isn't mine, by the way. This was something I was sent by somebody. I would never code an MT4. They seem to close to 10%, and yes, using risk of balance. Okay, so I'm presuming that you go buy now or buy pending order. Okay, trades NAS and S&P perfectly fine, and FX and metals too. Is it due to how do we calculate it? Let me take a look. Let's just show everything on this watch list. Is it D? What is it? US30, is it? I can't remember what it is. Is it Dow? No, it's not the Dow. Is it not US30? What do you know what the code is for it? I've not tried testing US30 or other indices. WS30. WS30, that's the one. Thank you. Legends. So SP 500 specification. Oh. Okay, so contract size 10. I mean, this shouldn't make a difference anyway. Contract size 1. Okay, this is what it could be down to, is the contract size, but I don't think I've had that issue before. I'm in a euro dollar trade now as well. Let me just open that up. Where are we? How you doing, Rob? Hope you're all good. Similar issue with UK 100. Is there any chance you could send me the file? You could remove like all your conditions and stuff, and I'd just take a look at the risk settings, because I don't think that if you're using risk of balance, we shouldn't. Oh, if you're using risk of balance, why is this not going down? I'm trying to sit down and my desk doesn't want to go. There we go. Yeah, if you're using risk of balance, you shouldn't have an issue. So I'd need to see how the blocks are set up within FX Dreamer. What I would potentially look at doing, if you can't find a workaround, is it's a little bit more manual work in the long term, but you could just use a fixed volume. And then let's say using 0.1 lots, you would then know that to keep those same risk settings at 200K balance, you would need to up that to 0.2. Risk of equity on market and pending orders. Okay, so I usually use risk of balance. I've never used risk of equity because I don't want to use equity. I want to use the absolute balance. And then I presume, do you set up a constant like this? Risk 1, risk percentage. So do you set a constant like this and then set up the constant there? Is that what you do? Or do you just type the number in here? Okay, and so let me go back to the original. Seem to close risk close to 10% and using the risk of balance. Okay, are you using fixed stops and targets? Like how I'm trying to think. To me, it sounds like a calculation error. Whether it's the algorithm side or on MetaTrader side. That's what I'd need to try and find out. Move this back across. Getting absolutely smashed on a dollar yen today. Yeah, there's so many contingencies that use either ATI based stops or candle ID based stops. Okay. I'm trying to think. So candle based stop shouldn't affect it. If you're using risk of equity, it shouldn't affect it. Like there shouldn't be a difference because it will take into account the contract size. I've had systems that I use on the Dow that I've also used on NASDAQ, and there's not been an issue, which leads me to believe there's something that's slightly wrong. Again, I can't tell exactly what it is without seeing it firsthand, but it'll be like one setting is wrong. Potentially, yeah, it's nothing that you're worried about. Yeah. I potentially change it to fixed lots and test it on fixed lots, because I presume that you haven't been able to get an accurate back test purely because of this sizing issue. If you do it on fixed lots and you wonder, then you'll be able to find out whether the system's actually profitable. Wondered if it's a pip calculation somewhere in the Dreamer file. See if it's that. I would presume that it's on MetaTrader side, because I've never had an issue with that. There's got to be something that's set incorrectly. There's got to be something that's set incorrectly in these settings, or something that's clicked that shouldn't be clicked. So you're putting in risk percent of equity. Does it? Okay, here's a question. Are you limiting it to one position? So putting a filter in like this as such before you ever get to opening a trade? The back tests are wildly out of proportion to everything else. I'm wondering, because you're using change it to risk of balance before you do anything else. Change this from risk percentage of equity to risk percentage of balance, because I'm thinking if for example, and I don't know if this is the case, your equity is inflated because you're in some crazy, wildly profitable open position. Okay, so that's not it. Check no position pending order. Yeah, because I was going to say, if it's like it's taking multiple orders and your equity is inflating, it then will just keep adding risk and adding risk and adding risk until the point where it'll just lose like 10%, like you say. But that would probably happen across all of the assets, not just one, which is strange. Yeah, I mean, if you're happy to send the file to me, I'm happy to jump on and have a look at it or see if there's anything that I can find. If not, I don't really know. To me, that sounds like something that's simple to fix, but you've got to be able to find it first. And like I say, without using my eyes, I wouldn't be able to find it. Yeah, US 30 is. I really struggle to get systems to work on US 30. I used to have one. Oh, what was it? It was retired. It's US 30. I used to have two. And they were both pretty crap. Like, I really struggled to get into work. Yeah, like 1.1 profit factors, just absolute awful. There was a simple breakout that I used. This was super simple system. It's just literally a bar breakout strategy. No kind of filters, nothing like that. Just simple price breakout. And then I also had an SMA pullback, which was just absolute turds. Like, you know, these first. This was I took it off relatively early on to XAQP. It had a couple of good years, but that was basically because of conditions with US indices. But it was pretty shocking. And since then, I've struggled to make anything work really on the Dow. I mean, I've got a couple of systems that potentially might work. I would, yeah, I'd try percentage of balance just to make sure, like rule that one out, and then we can revisit the conversation. But I would always use risk of balance. At euro dollars, nicely hedging the loss that's going to happen on UJ. Let me have a look. Because I haven't tested the Dow in a long time. Let's try it on here. So what did I have the Dow on? H1 WS30 spread. What's the average spread for the Dow? So current spread, where is it? 2. Okay, let's go max spread of 10. Is that right? Yeah, it must be. Yeah, max spread of 10, so we don't get blown out on spread. Close negative spread trades, 10 p.m., but that's actually 8 p.m. I've heard gold makes you rich, right, Kieran? It definitely does recently. Definitely does recently. What were my settings for this? I want to see if this works any better. Because since this strategy, I've made some improvements that look way too over optimized for me. Let's do a 1-to-1 risk to reward with a 0.5 stop. Let's try that. So 100% take profit. How many bars were we looking back? 24 bars. Yeah, I definitely over optimized that. And even then it was awful. I think that was the first strategy that I put together when I started trading algorithmically. So don't judge me. Let's go. Yeah, 100 bar breakout. And we'll run the test on that. Yeah, percentage of balance. Probably not missing out on too much. Already do have NAS and S&P in there, and the results could end up being correlated anyway. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I prefer building for the NASDAQ. S&P, I struggle to get working as well. I don't know what it is. NASDAQ seems to be easier to build things, in my opinion. I mean, I could be completely wrong there. It's all your experience. But yeah, I much prefer building on NASDAQ. I actually, pardon me, Blaine and I were talking about this yesterday. And he asked what my favorite asset class was, and 100%, like FX for me is the easiest to build, I think anyway, at least with what I do and the methods that I implement. Tail, did you ever consider your crypto account? I did actually. So that was I was thinking potentially. So for Tuesday sessions where we're doing the charity account, so where we're doing the strategy development and putting the strategies onto a Darwin. For anybody who missed Tuesday's session, what me and Blaine are going to do is, because we're live building strategies, we're going to implement them onto a Darwin, and then any money that Darwin makes will get donated to charity. I went to set it up yesterday, and then I realized I would be liable for all the tax, and I wouldn't make any income to cover the tax. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speak to Harvey or someone on the team from the operations department and see if we can get an account set up in Darwinex's name that we can directly transfer from business to a charity without me having to withdraw the capital and invest it there. I really want to get NEA built, but FINFC, I have no idea what that means. FINFC. Oh. Huh? Find it hard. I thought you were sending like some weird thing that the kids say nowadays that I didn't know. Yeah, this still looks pretty crap. I mean, there's way too much risk on there. Did I not change the risk? 0.1%. Oh, that's interesting. That's 0.1%. But yeah, I'm seeing the same. That's definitely not risking 0.1% because those settings are the same as on here. Okay. There we go. Okay, so when I used to test on the Dow, you can see here, one was 1%. Look, I was using half of a 0.01%. So I I was actually risking like sub 1%. So it's kind of, yeah, it's coming back to me now. I think it's the way that the contract size is, because the contract size is 1, not 10. So this drops down a decimal, I think. So yeah, I would still always switch to risk of balance. It's a safer approach because you're not taking into account open loss, open profit, because if you're building a portfolio, let's say, and you have multiple open positions, you can't account for that in the original backtest, so it will never be 100% accurate. What I mean by that is, if the system's taking one trade at a time, you're never going to be opening a trade based on the equity. The equity and the balance are always going to be the same thing. If you start using risk based on equity on a portfolio where there's 50 strategies, maybe you have 20 trades open, maybe you're up, I don't know, $1,000, down $1,000. It will adjust your position size on that next trade to your new equity, which is different to what it would be if you was testing the strategy on its own. So yeah, I would always use risk of balance over risk of equity. Unless you're using like a single use strategy, one that isn't part of the portfolio, but never recommend that. FX Dreamer looks mega confusing at first, but once you get your head around it, everything makes a lot more sense on there. Boxer Code has a lot of videos you can watch. Yeah, do you know what? I think one day using FX Dreamer, everything just clicks. Like you realize that. Yeah, so that was awful. That was a rubbish test. We won't be doing that again. I run that on silver and it works really well, that strategy. But I also run it for a higher risk to reward. All of this is it's literally just logic blocks. So you go, the way I think about it, I really need to download Epic Pen again. What? Epic Pen. Allow all cookies. I'm bored of not being able to draw my screen. Tan, how we doing, my friend? Hope you're all good, dude. Here we go. I don't know why it wouldn't let me download it before. That's weird. Got it again now. So Epic Pen, no. Accept. It's just installing. I'm not sat here, you know, not paying attention. We're just installing. So for those of you that used to come before, I think it was before the new year, I used to use this a lot where I draw my screen. Oh no. Oh, yeah. Free. There we go. Oh, that's why they've made it. I ain't paying £2 a month. Screw that. Don't need it. Is what it is. So effectively we go, okay, where's point A? Point A is here, point B is here, where it takes a trade. In between point A and point B, we have 1,000,001 different things to consider. We of course have to consider, how's it going to take the trade? So what is the idea of the trade? How are we going to build that? Are we going to take an idea that's already been made before? Are you going to try and complete something really new? You know, which as Blaine said on Tuesday, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can read, you know, trading books and take the concept from there and rebuild it. There's no point in trying to create something, you know, groundbreaking. And then we have to put in all the filters. Okay, so at baseline value, does it work? Is the system profitable? If yes, okay, is there any filters that we can add that not necessarily makes it more profitable, but makes it smoother, makes it more robust? You know, for example, trading through certain windows in the day, or I don't know, only executing long and short above a moving average or below a moving average, something like that. Something that takes away a lot of the trading activity. Yes, it will take away wins, but hopefully it will also take away some unnecessary losses. And then you have all your checks, like to make sure that there's no position. So for example, if we're on tick, it's going to be checking every tick for all these conditions that we put in here. If there's no position, then guess what's going to happen? It's going to keep peppering positions because we're not putting a blocker in there to say that we only want to trade if we don't already have a trade open. And that means specific to this strategy. So for example, as you can see, I have 4 trades open at the moment. 4 trades open at the moment. So none of those 4 trades will enter another trade on those strategies. However, my other strategies will still check the no position filter, but they will still open a trade because it's a different strategy. Then you can have all your other stuff to keep you safeguarded, spread filters, make sure you got slippage filters in, all of these stuff, make sure it's all connected. And then we go, okay, well, how do we draw the lines between point A and point B? How do we get to point B? Well, first we want to check this, we want to check that, we want to check this, we want to check the spread, then we want to buy. Of course, there's so much more that goes into that. It's just kind of a high level overview. Tal, I didn't even know you had a crypto account, dude. Rob, I don't talk slang, bruv. I mean, that's you kind of did. Daniel 321, how we doing, my friend? Welcome to the session. I just started trading algorithmically. What are the tips you would give to someone starting out? I'd say build. So, I mean, on XAQP, I have 29 systems live. That doesn't mean I built 29 systems. That means that I built 500 systems and only 29 made the cut. Keep building because you will only learn when you build. And even once you built them, you'll still only learn afterwards. Like when they're running live, you'll understand certain things. Oh, we have got Epic Pen. Interesting. There we go. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter now because great. You also have to close it down like this because it's just annoying. Anyway, my tips, yeah, again, is just build. You'll learn so much from just building systems. You'll understand what works, what doesn't work. You'll understand how to make strategy safer. So, for example, I didn't have spread filters in any of my systems, and then I got clipped on a silver trade at all-time high, and the spread was through the roof, like massive. And I think I lost 2.5 or 3.5 times my original trade size, but the trade shouldn't have even been opened. So essentially, it was like I can't remember when it was. This is a couple of months ago now. I think I'd just come back from Madrid, so I can't remember when it was. But let's say it was. I think it might have been here. So it was like this. And it didn't touch the level, but because spread blew out to about this wide, like that, because spread went like that, it obviously entered me, stopped me out, and hadn't even touched that price level. Now, I shouldn't have even been in that trade, but because it was a pending order on that high, it was. So I always have a spread filter in there, and remove or change your pending orders occasionally or delete them. I think on my next review of my portfolio, which will be at the end of Q1, I'm going to be changing all of my strategies from pending orders to market execution to avoid things like that in the future. It's not a big deal. And I mean, it's been working so far, as in I've never had an issue with pending orders really, other than that silver trade. However, it would be nice to not ever have to worry about that. For example, on news or market rollover, spread widens. The spread filter will only check when it's going to place the pending order. So it's not going to check when you execute. What you can do for that, however, is if we had another spread filter, as a delete. Why is it not showing me the ones? Okay, something's wrong. Something's going wrong. There we go. So what's good practice is to put things like this in. So we'll have the strategy over here, let's say. I mean, that is not a strategy, don't get me wrong. There's so much that's missing there. But we'd say area 1, can we rename this to strategy? So that's the strategy. We know that from looking at it. We can go, this is safety check number 1, spread. Okay, so even if this is trading with pending orders, we then would go spread filter, if spread is greater than average spread for a given time, perhaps. So it's looking for a recent average, or we could just do a fixed spread, new constant spread filter, 5 spread filter. Now what that's going to do, if the spread ever blows out above 5 or whatever we set in the variables on MetaTrader, it's going to delete the pending orders. So even if you have a pending order set, as soon as spread gets bigger than what we've set it to, it's going to remove the pending orders. So little things like this, just to be a little bit safer. One thing I like to do as well, unless it's a swing trade system, is also close once a week. Oh, what is it? Weekday filter. Once per, oh my God, once a day. That's the one. So for example, this is good practice as well. You don't have to do this. Some strategies require you holding for multiple weeks. But for me, I don't want to be paying loads in swap fees. I also don't want to be running the risk of weekend gaps. So again, let's change the name of this to close for weekend. I like going into the weekend flat. So we would change the weekend filter to allow for Friday only. So we only have Friday, which means that this will only look on Friday, okay? So this is only going to be active on a Friday. Now it goes to the next block of logic, which is once per day. So once per day, we've got it set to server time. You can change that. Server time for Darwinex is 2 hours ahead of UK time, of course, depending on where you're based in the world. It's going to be different for you. And then I would put a certain hour. And let's say, I don't know, 8 o'clock at night. Probably earlier than that. Maybe no, 8 o'clock at night sounds okay. So we do 10 p.m. Okay. So what we've just done here, and then we've set the link to close positions at 8 o'clock on a Friday. It's going to close all the positions, no matter whether they're winning trades, losing trades. It's going to close those positions, and that's just so that we go into the weekend flat. You don't have to do that. That's not a necessity. However, it's Alexa, volume down to 1. Thank you, sweetheart. It's good practice to test different things like this and to implement them, because it makes your systems a lot more secure. So, for example, Tan, I've just seen your message, dude. Apologies for that. PWBV. I feel like we've reviewed PWBV a lot. No, don't kick off. Can you guys hear my dog bark? Because I know on Google Meets my mic blurs it out so nobody can hear it, but I'm sure on here you can. So I apologize if you can. Sit down. You just want to say hello, don't you? That's it. Good girl. Found Boxo code a while back. Have to start looking at it again, to be honest. I've never heard of him. I learned FX Dreamer mainly with the guys from like with Blaine's oversight, but I just built and made sure that I learned it kind of while I was building. My dog is turning his head, wondering what's going on. Yeah, she heard the car door slam outside, and she's heard it again, and yeah, she goes absolutely nuts. But these sorts of things, right? So all of these are kind of checks that we would do as a discretionary trader, right? For example, if we see something happening, let's put it this way: going into the weekend as a discretionary trader, you're going to start opening trades up at 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m. at night on a Friday. Probably not. It's highly unlikely you're going to be opening trades at that time. So you don't want your algos to be opening trades at that time, as a general rule of thumb. So you can set hours in the day. So hours filter. Okay. So hours filter, start from N2. Okay. That's going to be the active time that it's looking for trades. You want to customize it in MetaTrader so you can test. Well, okay, we come into constants. Time window start, and let's go. It's just time window start, time window end, 10 o'clock in the morning. Let's say. So we've got a 10-hour time window. Set these as constants, because then we can test them in MetaTrader. Maybe slightly bigger. Let's move all these down. hours filter. And now our system's only looking between the certain hours of the day. Perfect. We're doing all these things that a discretionary trader would do. Wouldn't execute on news when the spread's getting larger. Wouldn't execute at night because we put an hours filter in. It's going to close trades going into the weekend. Again, that's not the same case for everybody. Some people will have strategies that hold into the weekend. I do as well, but I like to be flat where possible. You can even do it, either select all Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or you could just put once a day closed positions. You don't need the weekday filtering. He's trying to think, how do you protect yourself as well as make profit, right? Obviously, we're here to make money. We're here to build systems that are profitable over a long period of time. But how do we survive that period and let the systems just do their thing? And that's just putting simple things in place to ensure that the systems, A, aren't going to overtrade, B, trade in poor conditions, and C, miscalculate things. So again, a hard lesson I had this week was on LVFZ. I also had it on my FTMO account, ended up losing like 2.5%, I think, on my FTMO. It's 5% overall because it was on 2 accounts. It was like 10 grand overall, 5 grand on an account, each account. It was this move here. It was like a 1.5% loss on my Darwin. This is my second portfolio, and this is where I test strategies before moving them to XAQP. And basically what had happened is I had an ATR-based stop on a gold strategy, and because it had entered during market rollover and the spread had gone, something had happened with the spread and it couldn't quite accurately calculate what the stop loss should have been. So instead of retrying, it just went, no, I don't know what the stop is, so I'm not going to place a stop. And yeah, I woke up in the morning with short on gold with no stop, and it could have been a lot worse, of course. However, I'm happy that that happened because it made me realize, okay, that's a potential flaw moving forward. All of these different things, like you survive them, and then you go, okay, well, how do I stop that from happening again in the future? How do I make sure that's not going to happen, moving forward? Okay, well, I don't want it to trade at that hour of the day. Okay, so you put a filter in. Don't trade at that hour of the day. But yeah, you pick these things up, you learn from them, or it's important that you learn from them because your strategies will only get stronger over time. So if we look at like XAQP, for example, it's smooth because only strategies that approve themselves go on here. Whereas LVFZ is a little bit more like it had that. It doesn't look that big, but I think that's just because this is so long. But it was a pretty nasty drop off. As you can see there, yeah, 1.8%. So yeah, just super important to be testing for these things. I don't know how we've gone down the rabbit hole of that, to be completely honest. I think that was it's my tips to Daniel is okay. Let's go back to that. Number one, keep your system simple. Don't try and make an ultimate strategy that does everything. Try and make small individual systems that work together and complement each other within a portfolio. What do I mean by complement each other? I mean they have low correlation, i.e. they make a profit and a loss at different times, or they trade at different times. Sometimes they will overlap, of course, there's nothing you can do about that. Trade a diverse batch of assets, strategies, strategy types. So try and get some mean reversion systems, some breakout systems, trend following, arbing if you can, like just a basket of different ways to trade the market so that you're not so reliant on specific market conditions. Put as many filters as you can in there that isn't trading logic, but will protect you from the market. Again, things like this. So it's not specifically trading related. So we're not doing anything here. Like the spread filter to delete your pending orders isn't going to help you make more on a trade. It's not going to make the system any better. But what it will do is it will mitigate the downside. That is equally as important as building a system that has upside to it. Because if you don't have these things, like that one gold, the gold that I was talking about this week on LVFZ, that one trade would have wiped out a year's worth of progress on that one strategy. So whilst it's good to build a system that is profitable, it's equally as important to make sure that that system has no kind of backdoor access to blow up. Okay, so they have to be 100% robust. Rob, are there other issues? Say you have a working strategy. Is there anything that you need to know before doing the EA? I mean, there's a million and one things that you should know, or that you should be aware of. this is where AI, I know you guys probably sick of me talking about this by now, but AI will help you massively with this sort of thing. It's just going, you know, I built this strategy, does X, Y, Z. What filters can I put in place to protect the downside? Not talking about P&L downside. We're talking about downside from a system error or miscalculation or, you know, spread blowing out. And it will come back with you and it will give you all the different things that you should be putting checks in for. Anything that it gives you, you will be able to build. AI is, nah, I disagree with that, Rob. AI is phenomenal if you use it well. Yeah, if you use it well, AI is phenomenal, but you have to use it well. Is the main point. I've just realised I've been running a thing on strategy quant for 2 days. It's made 22.5 million strategies, and finally hit my quota of 10,000. So I'm gonna retest them while we're on here because I don't think we've done much strategy quant stuff on these sessions before. This is just in my manual builder. I will do some more testing on these outside of this session, but I'm just going to start for now. So basically what I've done here is I built some strategies on GU on the 15-minute time frame. I've used a sample period of 2 years. So basically it's using 2 years worth of data to build strategies. So to generate ideas and validate them. Now what I want to do is validate them on a different sample period. That'll probably turn this 10,000 strategies into maybe 10, I reckon. Yeah, Rob, I've given it code and that before, and it throws back errors a lot. It also makes mistakes often. Mine annoys me a lot. Yeah, okay. So my caveat to that is write the code yourself. I bet you can't write the code yourself as well as AI can do it with as cheap and as efficiently as AI can. I completely agree. Unless you're using Claude, Claude is great with code. Gemini is okay. ChatGPT is awful in my opinion. Grok is actually quite surprising from when I've used it. But code is one of those things you have to. I believe anyway, to vibe code, you should have a base level understanding of how to program. Otherwise, it's going to be like you're not going to know what you're doing. Yeah, if you use ChatGPT, I'm not surprised. ChatGPT isn't the best in my opinion. I think when they released ChatGPT 5, they took a massive step back. I don't know what changes they made, but in my opinion, they made it unusable for me. So I just switched to Gemini. Yeah, it's useful for talking through logic when building on a dreamer. I completely agree. Although I've probably made more progress just testing things on FX Streamer than using ChatGPT, but it's good to explain certain things. Okay, let's move these to the retester. So I'm going to retest all of these. My job here isn't to validate them. My job is to break them. If they don't break, then great, they get passed on. So we got 10,000 systems. So we got results, robustness testing. So we want to change the date that we're testing them on. So we're going to validate them. The systems were built from October 2017 to December 2019. So we're going to validate them from the 1st of Jan 2020 to current day, or pretty much current day at the start of this year. Add 1 pip onto the spread, slippage 1. Yeah, that's fine for the first test. Commission 2.5 per lot. Okay, let's run. Oh, no, made a mistake. Forgot to turn delete. So we're deleting any systems that don't pass. And we restart that again. So any systems that pass will move into this data bank over here. So you can see as it's testing them, 100 and 200, it'll show how many have passed here. So 0. I really hope I get at least 1 strategy for this because this has been running for 2 days. So if I don't even get 1 system, it's going to be pretty poor going and it's back to the drawing board. But it is what it is. That's life sometimes. Sometimes I've ran building sessions that last for an hour and it builds 10 good strategies and I have to pick which ones I'm going to take and test live. Sometimes I'll spend 2 days, build 22.5 million systems and just none of them hold up. It's just, yeah, it's just a name of the game, I suppose. Would you pay for Gemini? Gemini had the odd funny too, but again, none are perfect. Yeah, I do. I actually don't pay for Gemini. I have Gemini through work at Darwinex because we have Google, but I also have a Google Pixel 10, so I get Gemini for free for like a year. I really like Gemini. I really like Gemini. It's not perfect. None of them ever are, but I do find Gemini the best that I've used, in my opinion. I don't think you're paying for any of them makes sense. You're paying to train their software for them. Yeah, I mean, just see that you're going to have to shoot. Thanks for joining the session, dude. Don't get to watch these live much, but the replays are always a good watch. Appreciate that, mate. I appreciate that massively. And feel free to come back anytime, dude. Yeah, you're paying to train their software for them. It's absolutely correct, but it costs like, I mean, starting cost to build your own LLM is like 50 million, I think. So we're kind of limited. It's like, if you don't use them, what's your alternative? However, one thing that I did look at doing before, it just takes a lot of processing power, is curating an open source LLM. So Llama is an open source LLM. I think it was built by Meta, but I could be wrong. So the source code is open. So you can basically download the infrastructure for that LLM and curate it to, you know, your business or whatever you use it for. Please, if there's any AI nerds in here, don't shoot me down if I'm completely wrong on this, but this is the way that I understand it. Oh, great. Now I'm long on silver as well. Fandabidozy. Don't know what's going on today. It's like all of a sudden gone busy as hell. Yeah, just got long silver. It's a super tight stop on silver as well, so kind of need this to shoot out and break out nicely. If not, it's yeah, it's not forever. What was I saying? AI, LLMs. Yeah, so you can curate Llama, and it's just you would have to store all of kind of the database for that. So you take the open source code, but you host it all yourself. It's super complex, or at least I think it is. You know, again, if there's any AI buffs, don't shoot me down. But yeah, so I would just personally pay and use Gemini over ChatGPT any day of the week. Yeah, so this is annoying. No strategies have passed the test, which is a shame. It is what it is. I guess we go to our next building block. Although, to be fair, I might have a break for a couple of weeks building. Yeah, probably going to have a couple of weeks break. Maybe I say that. I'll probably start again early next week. Yeah, it's almost done now. 9.6, 9.7. Yeah, I'll probably build some more strategies next week. I'm pretty happy with the setup I have at the moment. We have 29 systems on XAQP. We have 32 on LVFZ, 31 on LVFZ, and all of those, so the 60 strategies on my FTMO accounts, which I kind of need considering I got blasted the other day on that gold trade. So I kind of need to get those FTMOs back up there. I was at 9% on phase one, and yeah, got hit quite hard. So I'm now at like plus 5%, but it is what it is. So guys, oh Lord, I'm so tired. It's a pleasure of having young kids. You're just constantly tired 24/7. I have to leave in a couple of minutes to go and pick up my kids, speaking of them. So we're going to call it an end to a session here. We'll be back on Tuesday, where hopefully I'll have the charity Darwin set up. So when we come back to the strategy building session on Tuesday, we'd start putting some strategy logic together on FX Dreamer, getting some tests done, and start getting them added to the charity Darwin. So with that being said, continue to trade well for the rest of this week. I think the markets are going to continue to be volatile for some time, probably for the next couple of months. So make sure you're protecting your downside, doing everything that you can to get involved, to improve, to scale, and, you know, generally grow as a trader. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're watching this from in the world. And the next live session will be Tuesday at 5 p.m. UK time. Have a fantastic rest of your evening, guys. Morning or afternoon, wherever you are. And have a great weekend, and I will catch you next week. Peace out, gang.